Welcome to Fun and Games Side Quests. Every episode is a different host sharing a video game they love and why they love it.
What is going on, Side Quest gang? My name is Mike Towndrow. I'm the creative director over at 6-1 Indie, where we produce big ol' indie game showcases every spring and summer. You can go check those out over on 61indie.com and youtube.com/61indie. That's 61 spelt out, SIXONE, Indie. I am also one of the games PR folks over at Vicarious PR, where I help developers and publishers tell you about some really cool games. So somehow I tricked the Fun and Games folks into thinking I was cool enough to be a part of Side Quest to talk about a really cool game. Thank you guys so much. It's super humbling. I'm really stoked. Of course, I said, hell yeah, I'm in. But it has to be some weird indie BS. You know what I'm saying? So I want to talk about Teenage Blob from South African indie dev Team Lazerbeam. So what is Teenage Blob? Well, the best way I could describe it is as a playable album. Teenage Blob is a collaboration between Team Lazerbeam and the Philly punk rock band, the Superweaks. So the Superweaks created a 6-song EP, and each song correlates to a minigame on this colorful art punk adventure towards the best night of your life. And yes, I'm not that clever. I took that straight from the Steam page. So the setup for the game is that you wake up, you are a literal teenage blob. The art style is very DIY, sketchy, colorful, poppy. It is so great. It's so my jam. I love imperfect things. You wake up, you create your blob, you create your character, and you are looking forward to this killer punk rock show that is happening that night. But drama ensues as you realize you don't have a great outfit and you really want these boots to really impress the crowd and impress the scene. So before you head to the show, you have to spend your day doing a bunch of odd jobs in order to get enough cash to buy the boots. This leads into where the Super Weeks come into play. So each one of these odd jobs is a mini game that is essentially a playable music video for one of the Super Weeks tracks. There are 6 tracks, so there's 6 mini games. And what I love so much that adds another layer of charm is that each of the mini games harkens back to a beloved franchise. So there's a game and a song called Paper Person, and the mini game is essentially Paperboy. There is a Tony Hawk throwback. There is a Guitar Hero throwback, and it sounds like cheap nostalgia plays. But the fact of the matter is that like the gameplay is really damn fun and really damn engaging, and it's only supported by banger tracks from the Super Weeks. Now, there are a lot of reasons why I decided to discuss Teenage Blob on Side Quests. There are a ton of reasons why I adore this game. It is sincerely one of my favorite games of all time. I mean, on the surface level, like I mentioned, I love imperfect experiences in art. That applies to games, music, film, whatever it may be. I'm a punk rock kid, always have been, always will be. I've been in and out of bands my entire life. I grew up on Warped Tour, so obviously the collaboration between an indie game studio and a punk rock band spoke to me heavily. But what I did not expect this game to do is literally save my life. And yes, we're going there. Something I rely on quite heavily for my own mental well-being and own stability is live music. And it's been this way since high school. I mean, I think the first club show I ever went to, like first DIY show I ever went to was when I was 12, I think. The first proper show was Bamboozle 2007, 2008. I think 2008 when I was 13 years old. And something that has resonated with me in those early days and continues to resonate with me nearly 20 years later at this point is the sensation of being in a room with complete strangers. And whether it's a song, a word, a phrase, a chant, whatever it may be, being connected through music. Does that sound like it belongs inside of a greeting card? Yes, I know how cheesy that sounds and how cliche that sounds. But, you know, I've always had trouble with self-acceptance and I guess a sense of belonging and just not feeling alone 24/7 despite being surrounded by great friends and family and all that stuff. It's just like I always felt alone. And again, going back to the greeting card nonsense, live music has served as my therapist for, you know, again, the past 20 plus years at this point, especially when therapists have failed me and betrayed me, and I just really closed myself off to getting serious help, live music was always there, and I always found this community, and I always found love. Every night I spent at Irving Plaza, Terminal 5, the Gramercy, Bowery Ballroom, or played a show at FLC, the Chance, Mercury Lounge, whatever it may be. Every night ended and continues to end with the purest form of happiness and acceptance. Now, you may be asking, Mike, what the fuck does this have to do with Teenage Blob? Well, a key detail I left out when describing this game is that this game came out on August 13th, 2020. If you don't remember, this little thing happened called the pandemic and lockdown. And when a lockdown was happening, there were no live shows. Concerts were on pause. The music industry was, or I should say, at least the live music industry was hurting quite a bit. It wasn't safe to put on live productions. As you can imagine, with everything I just said, I was not okay in 2020. I mean, nobody was okay in 2020, obviously, but I fell into this like very particular niche that essentially, it could sound drastic, but I honestly, I feel this way. It felt like I got my meds taken away from me. I will never forget the day I played through Teenage Blob. What Team Lazerbeam and the Superweaks created is the most authentic representation of what it's like waking up, being so stoked for a show, and feeling the release and that connection of being in a room full of strangers and celebrating music. Again, I'm talking about the early days quite a bit. I can't recount the amount of times I would wake up completely stoked for a show, but I don't know, like I didn't have money for merch, or like I didn't have money to eat throughout the day. So like on a hot summer day where like all I wanted to do was hang around and play Sonic Adventure 2 or whatever, like I would go out and do these little odd jobs and grind away for some cash so I could grab a shirt, grab a record, something tangible to represent an incredible night where I felt alive and connected and just purely happy. And independent of that is how Teenage Blob so authentically represented what it's like to go to a show and feel that connection with complete strangers. Like, I don't want to spoil it here because I so encourage everybody to check out this game. I mean, I'm looking at the Steam page right now. It is $8 whole ass. You could afford that. Go play it. But just the way they interpret a concert and what it's like to feel that sensation is everything. Not only does it have heart, not only is it fun, not only is it batshit fucking crazy, but it is so accurate. And I will never forget that day where I played through this game, I have to say, like 3 or 4 times in a row, and every single time credits rolled and I cried my goddamn eyes out. It helped me unleash everything that I was holding onto and was pent up inside of me for what felt like an eternity. I mean, it really wasn't. It was 8 months, something like that, but it felt like forever. Those first 8 months or so felt like purgatory, and Team Lazerbeam and the Superweaks pulled me back down to earth like I didn't expect anything to. And of course, that's not to discredit my wife Kelsey and my mother and my 6-1 indie family that really helped me get through those dark days, just like I'm sure you had those core touchstones to get you through lockdown. But again, I just, there's something about that specific niche of the reliance on live music to feel something that I even when I was void of that, it was hard to explain it. And that made things even worse. That made the sensation of feeling alone even more amplified. And again, Teenage Blob really pulled me out of that. And I'm lucky to call the Team Lazerbeam folks friends at this point. And I sincerely, every time I get a chance to talk about it, I cannot express how grateful I am for this project and how much I owe both Team Lazerbeam and the Superweaks. Whenever I do talk about this also, I don't know how to end the conversation. Seriously, if you have any love for live music, if you've ever been to a concert, if you want to learn more about the punk rock scene and what the vibe is like, I cannot recommend Teenage Blob enough. It is available on Steam. It's available on itch.io. Please go show that team and the band some love. You can obviously listen to the EP Teenage Blob by the Superweaks. It's on, Spotify, Apple Music, all those good places. And then Team Lazerbeam also has Wrestling with Emotions 2, new kid on the block coming out. Their entire library is fantastic, by the way. Teenage Blob takes a half hour to play through because it is just a 6-song EP. But all of their games are these incredible bite-sized indie experiences and indie narratives that are like so memorable and just so well written and so well crafted. I cannot recommend delving into their library enough. And I guess that's it. If you enjoyed my ramblings, I ramble about indie games quite a bit over on 61 Indie. We have a weekly indie game podcast called the 61 Indie Cast. It's available everywhere you can listen to a podcast and YouTube. I'm also a part of the Indie Council, which is a really sick podcast. It's a deep dive into the indie scene that is with the Indie Informer, Jill Grote, Jenny Wyndham, and Janet Garcia. So there are plenty of opportunities to listen to me spew nonsense about indie games if that's your thing. But hey, until next time, happy gaming.
Hey.
Oh, hey, Jeff.
What's going on, guys?
Oh, talking about Superman.
Oh, cool. I could talk about Superman.
I could talk some more about Superman.
We know.
I'll bet a few people would want to get in on this.
I'm down.
You know it.
That sounds like fun. I'll do it.
Cool, let's do it. We can call the show Men of Steel.
And you can find it at certainpov.com.
Or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yay.
CertainPOV.com.